wanted to have you on as my first guest because I wanted to just have people hear from you as an herbalist, as an acupuncturist, just as a healer about what we can be doing right now and in the future to just love up on ourselves through things that you mentioned, like food is medicine, which I absolutely love that term. But before we jump in, can you just please give a brief introduction outside of what I may have mentioned?
Yes. So as Tashara said, I am a licensed acupuncturist. I'm an herbalist. I currently reside in Southern California in Los Angeles. My background is from a sociological background, and then from that, I kind of contextualized how medicine is accessible or inaccessible to certain communities, and I really wanted to find ways to make health and wellness more accessible and less of a kind of a foreign concept for folks. And so I pursued holistic medicine and acupuncture as my master's program. And for the past few years, I've just really been figuring out ways to disseminate this information. A lot of it is just, cultural information that we've had for years and years that have been passed down. And now we're kind of in a process, in a place where we're reclaiming that information and really getting it to all communities.
You talked about using food as medicine and foods that you felt like we should be eating right now.
Absolutely.
Let's start there.
Okay, love it. So food is our first medicine. I mean, it is the information that we put into our bodies every single day. So the foods that we should definitely be enjoying right now, we want to kind of eat seasonally. So we're still in spring, winterish, springish. So we want to be thinking about foods that come from the earth. So lots of root vegetables. I'm recommending that folks eat lots of sweet potatoes and yams, lots of beets, parsnips, squash, seasonal squash. Those are all things that are going to be in season. They're going to be nutritionally rich right now for that reason, and they're going to be really good to kind of help boost immunity, to kind of tonify some of our life forces, essentially, like our chi and our yin. Other things we should definitely be eating are ginger. Ginger is going to be great to help boost what acupuncturists refer to as your wei qi, which is essentially your immune system. I know many of you probably, when you get that little tickle in your throat, that first sign of a cold or something, feeling run down, you grab that ginger. And that's because ginger helps to prompt our digestion, so we're not building mucus when we're immunocompromised, but it's also prompting our immune system to kind of kick out to the exterior and fight off any potential external invaders. Green and white onions are really great right now. They're also going to have kind of a similar effect to ginger of calling out the body's immune response to protect the body from external invasions. That's what we call it in acupuncture talk and acupuncture speak. Mushrooms are going to be huge right now. So mushrooms are great. Just in general, lots of anti-cancer properties, anti-tumor properties, lots of immune boosting functions. But what I'm really loving about mushrooms right now is that they're really stellar at eating away in mucus. And that's one of the huge things that we're trying to work against right now. We don't want mucus in our bodies. And should we be coming down with any sort of colds or viruses, we want those mushrooms to help eat away at the phlegm and the dampness that likes to accumulate in our throats and chests when we start to get run down.
So one of the things that I read yesterday was that 70% of our body's immunity is in our gut. And I'm just wondering if you can explain that a little bit. And I'm guessing it goes back to your point about food as medicine.
Absolutely. I love that you brought that up. So our guts are essentially our first or our second brain. When you have a bad feeling about a thing, you're like something like my gut, like it's my gut says. And that's because it's such a primal part of us. Our gut actually has more neurotransmitters than our brain, like our whole body. There's so many receptors and there's so much information that happens in our gut that affects our immunity, that affects our processing, that affects our emotional health. Like our gut is super, super important. So that's why, we're talking about food as being medicine, and food is, and how we treat our gut as being an indicator of how the rest of our physiological processes are going to unfold. So yeah, our guts are just one giant brain feeding us information for sure.
What do you say to your clients when they say, okay, Portia, this all sounds well and good. When I come to your office, I feel great. But when I leave here, I just lose it. Like I have a hard time putting all of these tools into my daily life.
I tell them that is normal. You are a human and we are not putting all of these tools into use overnight. That is stressful. I'm not asking you to create a stressful situation for yourself. We have enough demands on our plates. Sure. What I'm doing is I'm facilitating small changes with people. Small changes take you further. They make you feel better. You don't feel like I have now overhauled my entire life overnight. I'm a failure. Like, that's no good. That's not the point of what we're doing here. So incremental changes are super, super helpful. The concept is kind of like harm reduction. I'm not asking you to switch over everything overnight. I'm saying, how can we manage to implement incremental change? And for the things that you feel like I can't give up yet, like I have folks that are like, I can't give up ice cream right now. Like cheese is my comfort place. Like, you're asking me to give up cheese? That is my pleasure. I'm like, okay, cool. Just don't have cheese 3 times a day. Once a day. Like, if you're doing 2 bowls of ice cream a night, that's your jam. Let's move it down to 1 bowl for the next week, and then maybe we can move it down to like a daily scoop or something like that. So we're talking about harm reduction. We want to make shifts with health and wellness as manageable as possible, so it's sustainable and so that you feel good about the process and you don't feel like you're falling short. You're not falling short at all.
How do we manage that high level of anxiety? Are there foods to be eating, practices to be keeping in mind to help us to just be at ease physically, emotionally, spiritually?
So in terms of really trying to find your peace in the middle of this storm, and I know that's going to be very different for everyone, and the ability to even do that is going to be different for everyone depending on what you've got going on in your life right now. But one practice I like to go to is mindfulness. And mindfulness is essentially the practice of being 100% present with yourself, where you are, doing or not doing whatever it is that you are doing. A lot of times, we'll be washing dishes or showering and we're thinking about 10 different things. We're months ahead, we're years ahead, we're thinking about yesterday. And there's a real sense of peace where you can say that I'm here on this Zoom, my feet are on the floor, my wrists are on the table, my shoulders are relaxed, I'm sharing space with you, just being fully present. I think that's one of the tools that I recommend the most, just because I think we can wrap our brains around being anywhere at any time doing a thing and then being like, okay, my focus is this and this only. If I am unloading the dishwasher, how do the dishes feel under my hands? I'm opening the cabinet, just being present. That's one that anyone can do. I want to also offer you guys a few herbal recommendations that you can probably find at your local co-op. You can find on a reputable herb site like Mountain Rose. Some of those herbs are astragalus root. That is really good to boost your immune system. That one you want to be mindful of, however, if you have high blood pressure and if you are pregnant. So, do a little bit of homework, ask your local herbalist if this would be right for you. Sea moss is a great one. I know that's really popular right now. Has a ton of minerals. It's really good for eliminating mucus. And then echinacea and elderberry are generally great immune boosters. However, there's been a little bit of conversation in the herbal community about being careful with those with COVID and making sure that those 2 herbs are not making the immune system and the lungs in particular too agitated in their fight against it. So those are 2 herbs that if you have those in your cabinet, I want you to be mindful of that if you're trying to use it and you suspect that you or one of your family members may have COVID. Just really be mindful of those 2 herbs. So I just wanted to throw out that little bit of information right there.